Dr. Tiff is an industry-leading expert in nutrition, peak performance, and mindset with decades of working with youth and college and adult women on mental and physical health improvement. What if you could unlock the secret to being confidently, brilliantly you? In her new book for tween and teen girls, Your Unique Physique, Dr. Tiff helps readers discover their superpowers, strengthen their physique, and celebrate what makes them unique. So welcome. Thank you for this book.
Thank you for the invitation to talk about it. I'm so excited.
Well, this is absolutely, and I know you say this in the book too, this is the book that I would have loved to have as a 13-year-old. And so we're going to try to get through as much as we can. I think we're going to give at least enough for readers to really want to grab it. But let's start here. You call yourself a weirdo, and I want you to explain that because I often feel like one too, and it puts a smile on my face to think of it that way.
Well, I just think when we're that age, it's like we're all on the same track. Like we're in the same classes, we're all playing the sports, we're doing the activities, and we look to the right and we look to the left and we expect ourselves to be exactly like everyone else around us at that age. And even as adults, I think we do the comparison trap, right? Or even just comparing to our old selves. And as I've gotten older and I've just started to embrace what's different and unique about me and some of my quirks and some of my strengths and weaknesses, it's like, I kind of like being unique and weird. I mean, it's just who I am. And if I'm honest, how boring would the world be if everyone was the same and there weren't these just quirky habits and things that made each of us who we are? So.
I mean, it is one thing to be able to say to a young person, just wait, because when you get older, you'll love your red hair and you'll love, your silliness and your boldness or whatever. But right now, you are a coach for these young people. This is such a practical book. The world doesn't need more perfect girls, as you say. It needs more physique girls. So we know the traditional meaning of the word physique, but what does physique, spelt Fizeek, what does that mean? What's the acronym?
Yeah,
what does that stand for?
Sure. I just wanted to reframe that conversation. I think no matter how old we are, so much of our identity and how we define ourselves, how we describe ourselves is so physical, tangible, what we look like, the clothes we wear, the color of our hair, all the things, the color of our skin. And I wanted to redefine what worth and what identity means. And so physique, as I spell it, stands for faith, integrity, zeal, endurance, empowerment, and knowledge. So there's 6 pillars that define our whole selves. And as I journey through the book with the girls, we really dive into each of those and try to develop them so that they see themselves as more than just what they do, who they are, the friends that they have, because those things change. But if we're identifying with Christ and we're building our identity on unshakable foundations, then no matter what changes in our world and our life, then those things are still just a solid rock that we can stand on. So,
yeah, so good. So once the reader, we're going to get practical here. Once the reader discovers their superpowers, their unique strengths, how do you help them sharpen them?
Sure. Well, a lot of it is about building confidence around that. Like we were just saying, like once you know kind of your quirks, your uniquenesses, your maybe the things that set you apart from your friend group or your peers, then how do we share those boldly and recognize that sometimes somebody else is waiting for you to be vulnerable. Somebody is waiting for you to be confident enough to say, hey, do you like these things? Because I do. When I work with young girls, a lot of times they say, I feel like I don't have anything in common with my teammates or my classmates, or I like these colors and they like to wear those colors. Or I've had figure skaters and dancers in the past that maybe feel like they don't fit the body mold of that sport. And as soon as they're vulnerable to step out and to just own who they are and to be confident, then so many opportunities to connect open up. So part of it's the confidence piece. Part of it's just their health and taking care of themselves and understanding how to fuel their body. And that feeds their mind. It feeds their body. It helps them get stronger. It helps them to be more focused and resilient. So there's the mental battles that we go through that need to be sharpened. And then there's also just the physical self where we can show up every day as our best, strongest, most vibrant self as well.
Okay, I do want to talk about the physical and the food in a second.
Yeah.
But you did just mention like it just takes one person to sort of start that ball rolling and to step out first. And so you actually have these diary of a real girl sections throughout the book. Obviously, that was your intention there, is to have these real stories of someone coming out and saying, hey, this is what I've been through.
That's right. I just had this vision of, what if there were girls that were sharing their experiences with each of the chapter topics where, hey, this was my experience with connecting through kindness, or this was my experience with movement and exercise and how it makes my body feel. And this was my experience when I actually understood my superpowers and used them to make a difference in somebody's life. So I've got 12 different girls. There's 12 chapters, and each chapter has a diary entry that's relevant to that topic that just says, hey, some of them are actually in high school now. So when I was 13 or when I was in middle school, this was my experience. And I think too, just hearing some of the older voices is going to be really impactful for the young girls too.
And then it's not just you talking at them either. There's a bit more of an example. But I know one of your desires with this book, maybe you can speak to this too, is to really develop a community.
I don't want to drive them to social media, right? Which is the typical community these days. And I think let me just be clear, I think there's some benefits to social media for what it is. But for this age, I really wanted it to be a curated, safe space. So I've actually created an app that goes with the book that will have Bible verses and recipes and journal prompts and an opportunity for the girls to connect and message me. There's no private messaging in the app for safety reasons, but there just will be an opportunity for them to build some community. And also, all of the royalties from the sale of the book are funding a nonprofit that I've started so that I can then provide the book to under-resourced groups and girls that maybe can't afford or just aren't exposed to it the way that we are on Amazon and all the things that most of us get an opportunity to utilize.
So good. So good. I love what you're doing. Okay. So
thank you.
Obviously, as a health and fitness coach, and I love, let me pause here for a second, because as a woman, the fact that you're at the point where you are in your life and you're looking back and you're like doing exactly what you're teaching these girls, like look at what you're made for, look at your skills, look what makes you unique. What does that look like? How can you use that? You actually give some diagrams of like, there was that center point of like figuring out what you're meant for. So you're obviously meant for this, Dr. Tiff. So I'm really, really grateful that this package has come together. But so yeah, fitness, health, you can't leave out the importance of nutrition and the body image issue. So what should teen girls eat to take care of their physique? What are you leading them to here?
Well, I think what I want them to understand is that just like their superpowers, just like their, uniquenesses that they're exploring, their body is different. And when I work with young athletes specifically, oftentimes their bodies are bigger than their friends that aren't athletes. They're more muscular, they're more developed. They may be doing strength and conditioning. They may need to eat more because they're expending more. So I really don't tell the girls what to eat as much as I help them understand they need to find what works for their body, what foods make them feel better, that help digestion, that make their energy more sustainable through the day, that make them feel like they're not hitting a wall in the afternoon. So just like adults, right, we have to figure out what works for our body, and what works for our girlfriend's body doesn't always work for ours. I think I want girls to understand that, because again, I think at that age, we are like, well, she's doing that, maybe I should do that. And I want them to find their path and their understanding of what. There's a little food mood journal, which I love, is like also identifying what foods make my mood feel better, make me more energetic, more focused, less irritable. And mom and dad might appreciate that one too. So.
Oh, I love it. Oh, and you go into some exercises as well. I mean, there's so much in this book. Just a couple more things before we wrap up, because we just can't touch on all of it. But you just mentioned parents. What is the role of parents and the influencers in their life? What are you hoping for them?
I want them to be able to be a cheerleader, to be their support mechanism, to be a safe place to land. And I think because I don't feel like there was a resource out there that fills the gap that this book fills, that the parent can step away from being the food police, from being the nudger, from being the one that has to say all the right things all the time, but that the girl learns to kind of find that within themselves and through God and through the book and their own confidence. And of course, mom and dad are always going to be there, but I want them to be able to not have to wear the nutrition coach hat and the confidence builder hat. So I'm hoping too, this will just be a really great resource for parents to give to their girls also.
Okay, lastly, can you walk us through the mirror exercise? Because I think we all need this.
Absolutely.
I landed on that in the book and I was like, okay, hold on, I got to read this a bit more.
Well, I think that we look and we pick ourselves apart and we look at all the things we wish were different instead of just really looking and seeing like, who am I in God's eyes? And when I look at that mirror and I see all the things, the uniquenesses, the mold was broken with me, and that I can write on that mirror, if every day I was writing things that God saw in me or that I loved about myself, just those affirmations, and what a better reflection every single day. And I think we all struggle still with that of like, oh God, I got to get my hair colored. I get my hair cut. I need, if only I was 2 feet taller, or 2 inches taller. So I think that those exercises, that just the gratitudes and the affirmations and reminding ourselves that when we are picking apart how we were made, we're actually dishonoring him in the process.
So much in here, your unique physique, a girl's guide to faith, fuel, and finding your superpowers. Dr. Tiff, thank you.
Thank you so much.